It's becoming far too obvious. Anyone that has lived in Austin, Texas long enough has experienced or knows someone that has been the victim of APD tossing the innocent into a jail cell and asking questions later. So why would the Soros-funded Antifa movement be allowed to mount an offensive against Austin's riot police with 0 arrests? Something is rotten in Denmark. As I approached the area on June 10th at the anti-Sharia rally, barricades had been set up in the streets and numerous paddy wagons sat waiting for a potential mass arrest. Meanwhile, Austin Mayor Adler staged an anti-hate speech rally in front of the governor's mansion across the street. From an article appearing to promote Antifa titled "Counter-Protest Derails March Against Sharia in Austin," the Texas Observer reported around 50 protesters showed up Saturday at the Texas Capitol as part of a nationwide march against Sharia organized by Act for America, an Islamophobic hate group, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center. Mohammed Umar Esmail, an Austin imam, called Act for America's rhetoric irrational fear-mongering. Esmail said, "We are here to demonstrate our love and make it clear that we are not here to impose Sharia law on anyone. Rather, Muslims have been following the Constitution since the days of the slave trade."
Now remember, not only did the Muslims run the slave trade on the west coast of Africa, they also ran it on the Mediterranean coast and the east coast. So the missing part of the story of slavery in America is this. It was Muslim jihadists who captured the Africans to bring them to sell to the white man on the wooden ship in order they could come to America. Now this is really odd, because when Muslims talk to black Americans, they tell them that Islam is the religion of the black man, whereas Christianity is the religion of the white man. And yet we can see here that it was Africans being captured by Muslim jihadist slave traders who started the whole process going. So think about this. What else about your own history do you not know because it involves Islam?
Wakita Wilson, a black woman with the Georgetown-based racial justice group Courageous Conversations, said she was terrified to be there Saturday because 300 yards away are people who normally attack folks like me, referring to the diverse, peaceful, concerned American protesters.
You got water? I don't want you to overheat is what I'm saying.
I do feel that there are two types of laws. One is a just law and one is an unjust law. I think we all have moral obligations to obey just laws. On the other hand, I think we have moral obligations to disobey unjust laws, because non-cooperation with evil is as much a moral obligation as is cooperation with good.
The article from the Texas Observer even propagandized the Antifa's efforts with a caption to a picture that reads, "Riot police separate counter-protesters from anti-Islam demonstrators." However, some anti-Sharia protesters actually confronted Antifa members about Islam's tribal Sharia war on women, and the few Antifa that responded agreed that they were against Sharia for the same reason. It's becoming abundantly obvious that Antifa is nothing less than an extension of the fascism they pretend to rail against. Antifa was even allowed to protest on the Capitol grounds, even though there were no permits issued, according to one DPS officer I spoke to, begging the question, was DPS separating the protesters, or were they attempting to coordinate a confrontation? Don't be fooled. The desperate liberal left is on the verge of waging an all-out setup of the American people by undermining our right to freedom of assembly. It's the only move they have remaining before Donald Trump's inevitable checkmate on the dying left's subversive agenda.
They know they're all going to go to jail if Trump is able to take control of the government. That's why they're blocking him. It's why we're in such a death battle.
Oh, absolutely, Alex. Listen, here's how serious it is and how imminent it is. The trainers that train the Soros anarchists, the middle of June, the trainers that train these trainers that go out through the country and train these people they're changing them over, Alex. But they're going to protest and riot, but they're going to claim they're us.
I ask, well, what is going to happen to those people that we can't re-educate, that are diehard capitalists? And the reply was that they'd have to be eliminated. And when I pursued this further, they estimated that they would have to eliminate 25 million people in these re-education centers. And when I say eliminate, I mean kill. 25 million people. I want you to imagine sitting in a room with 25 people, most of which have graduate degrees from Columbia and other well-known educational centers, and hear them figuring out the logistics for the elimination of 25 million people. And they were dead serious.
John Bound for Infowars.com.
After 4 years of research, the next big game changer has arrived. Z-Shield, toxic metal and chemical defense support. It's made in the USA. It's filled with known compounds from nature that are absolutely associated with detoxifying the body, and it supports the InfoWar. It is a classical 360 win. We're changing the world. Now it's time to change our bodies with Z-Shield at InfoWarsLife.com.